Good day, everybody. My name is Katie, and I will be the tracker for the session. And I'm here with.
Hey, this is Lindo. I'll be the navigator for this session.
Okay, so today we are covering chapter 3, where we are just going to be using SQL. So here we have our login page for the database. The URL we will be testing. The username, no password is needed. So now I'm going to connect. Sorry. Okay, so now we are in uh, the database to run the table. So here are my two commands to select from the ingredients as well as the taco order. So I'm going to run it. As we can see, we have select all from the ingredients. So here we have the tortillas, which is the flour and the corn. We have ground beef with canitas, diced tomatoes, lettuce, cheddar, monterey cheese salsa, and sour cream. So here we have the name, the ID, as well as the type. Alright, and then here we have select all from taco order. Unfortunately, there is no taco order available, but we see it has the ID, the delivery name, delivery street, delivery city, delivery state, delivery zip, CC number, CC expiration, CC, CVV, and place at. Now, moving on to the code, I am not going to explain everything. I will just be explaining everything under data because that was introduced to us for chapter 3. I explained everything else in chapter 2 because nothing changed in those parts. So here we have the ingredient repository. The ingredient repository it just defines the contract for accessing and manipulating the ingredient data. This interface is typically implemented by a Spring Data MongoDB or a JPA repository. Okay, now I'm going to go into the code and we will start. So here we have the ingredient find all. This is just going to retrieve all the ingredient objects from the data store. And then it's going to just return the iterable collection of all available ingredients. Next, we have the optional ingredient find by ID string ID. So this is just going to find a specific ingredient by its unique ID, and then it's going then the ID, the identifier of the ingredient, and then which is optional, containing the ingredient if found or if empty not. This is what it will return. Moving on, we have the ingredient save, ingredient. So this is the save update in ingredient in the data store. If the ingredient already exists, it will be updated. Otherwise, it will be inserted. So the rem ingredient is the ingredient object to persist, and then the return is the save ingredient instance. Okay, moving on to the next part, we have the JDBC ingredient repository. So this JDBC-based implementation of the ingredient repository interface, it just uses Spring's JDBC template to interact with the database. Okay, so over here we have our constructor. Next we have the public editable find all, as well as our SQL query over there. So thus, it's just going to retrieve all the ingredients from the database, and then it's going to return the iterable of all ingredient objects. I'm going to just do this. Just make space. So here, this is the SQL query to fetch all the ingredients, and then over here, this is the row mapping function. So next we have the public optional ingredient find by ID string ID, list ingredients, result JDBC template query. So yeah, it's going to find all the ingredients by its ID, and then the param ID of the unique ingredient to find, and then it's going to return an optional containing the ingredient if found or if it's empty or not. So here we have the SQL query with the parameter Here we have the row mapping function, and then lastly we have the ID, which is the parameter value. Moving on, uh, here we have the public ingredient save. So this is just going to save a new ingredient in the database, and then the param ingredient, the ingredient object save, and then we have the return. That is just the saved ingredient of the object. Okay, this is obviously the SQL's insert statement. Here we have the ID parameter. Here we have the name parameter, and then here we have the type parameter to string. Next, we have the map row ingredient, result set row, and row number. So we're going to map a single row of the result set into an ingredient object. Now we have the param row. This is the result set row. The row number. This is the row. The row name is the row number. The return the map ingredient object, and then the throw is a SQL exception if the database access error occurs. That is it for this file. Moving on, we have the JDBC order repository. So it's just going to handle saving and retrieving taco order objects in the associated taco and ingredient entities. Here we have a constructor injection of the JDBC operation. Um, we have the taco order save taco order. So basically, we're going to save a taco order to the database, including if its tacos and the ingredients. It's going to use a transaction to ensure atomicity. Uh, we have the order to the taco order to save it, and then the return, the saved taco order with the generated ID. So here you create a factory for the prepared statement with the SQL parameter types. So you have the delivery name, delivery street, delivery city, delivery state, delivery zip, CC number, CC expiration, CC, CVV, placed at, and as well as the values for these specific blocks. Obviously, we just have the var chart. This is basically for SQL as well as the timestamps. Next, here we're just going to enable auto-generated key retrievals. Here we're going to set current timestamps. Here we're going to execute the insert. Here it's going to retrieve the generated ID. Here it's just going to save each taco in the order, and it's going to return the order. And then over here we have the save taco. So it's just going to save a taco to its associated order, and then the param order ID is the ID of the parent taco order. The param order key is the position of the taco in the order. The param taco is the taco to save, and then the return is the generated ID of the taco. Um, Here, we're just going to save the ingredient for the specific taco. Next, we have the save ingredients ref, so this is just going to save the ingredient reference for a taco. Param taco ID is the ID of the taco. Param ingredient refs, this is the list of the ingredient refs object. Okay, and then over here, this is just going to find the taco by its order, including the tacos and the ingredients, and then the parameter ID of the taco order, and then it's going to return an optional containing that the taco if the taco order was found. Moving on here, it's going to find all the tacos associated with a given order ID, the param order ID, the ID of the taco order, and then the return a list of taco objects. Um, and then lastly, for this file, here it's going to find all the ingredient reference for the given taco ID, the parent's taco ID, and the ID of the taco, and then it's going to return a list of ingredient ref objects. So here we have the order repository. So this is just going to refine the contract for the persisting and retrieving taco order entities. So it's just going to implement my USJ DBC, GPA, or the other data access strategies. So here we have taco order, save taco order. So it's just going to save the taco order to the data source, the prem order, which is the taco order to save, and then it's going to return the saved taco order potentially with the generated ID. And then over here, it's going to find a taco order by its unique ID, the program's ID, which is the ID of the taco order, and then it's going to return an optional containing the taco order if found empty or if it's not empty. That's it for that file. Moving on. We have the raw ingredient repository. So the raw implementation of the ingredient repository for comparison with the link, which is a JDBC ingredient repository, to illustrate the power and the convenience of using the link in the JDBC template. This version manually manages connections, statements, and results set. Okay, so here we have our constructor. Okay, so this is just the injection of the data source. Okay, here we have our try while catch. So it's going to retrieve all the ingredients from the database using the raw JDBC, and then it's just going to return a list of ingredient objects. So moving into the try, here we manually acquire the connection. Next, we prepare the SQL query, and then lastly, we execute the query. Moving into our while, it's just going to set the ID in a string, and then it's going to set the name in a string, and then it's just going to map the row into an ingredient. Next, we have our catch, which is a SQL exception. So if anything goes wrong, it will just print out this error. Proper error handling. Sorry, I don't know, I'm reading it. And then we have our finally. So if there's an issue, just close it with our SQL exception. Same thing for everything over here. Moving on, we have another try catch. So over here, it's just going to find an ingredient by its ID using the raw JDBC, and then we have the APRM ID of the ID of the ingredient, and then it's going to return an optional containing the ingredient if it's found. So here we have our try. I guess it's kind of the same explanation like I did earlier, but this is just where we're going to set the query parameter, and then this is where we execute our query. And then here it's going to set the ID into a string, and it's going to set the name into the string as well. It's kind of the same explanation that I gave earlier. So this may throw an error if the ingredients are null. If the spaces are null, we will get an exception. That is basically what is going on. So this is just a fallback if exception occurs or there is no result available. Next, we have our override method over here. Sorry. Here we have our override method. So it's called the ingredient save. So this is the save method. It's not going to implement this raw version. It's intended for comparison only, and that is it. Next, we have the data SQL file. Okay, so here we have delete from ingredient ref. This is just going to clear existing ingredient references in the table. Here we have delete from taco. It's just going to clear the taco table. Next, we have delete from taco order. It's going to clear the taco orders. Delete from ingredient. It's going to delete any existing ingredients. Next, we're going to insert a fresh ingredient data into the ingredient table. So here we have our wraps. So this is just going to insert the ingredient like by the ID, the name, and the type. So look at our first one. Here we have the value. We have the FLTO as our ID, the name flour tortilla, and the type is a wrap. So um, next one, it's also a corn tortilla. We have the ID, we have the name, we have the type. We have the same thing for our proteins. We have the same thing for our veggies. We have the same thing for our cheese. We have the same thing for our sauces as well. So that is kind of it. That is just going to go into SQL. This file should be straightforward and I shouldn't have any questions on it. Moving on, we have the schema SQL. So this is where we're going to create a taco order table to store the customer's order. So it's basically like using PostgreSQL in the commands, but this is what we're using for the taco order. So here we have create table if not exists taco order. So we're going to create a table if it doesn't exist and we're going to call it taco order. It's obviously going to generate a ID, which is the primary key, a delivery name, which is Facha 50. Not now, this is also going to be the receptant's name. We have all the other information as well, like the delivery street, delivery city, delivery state, delivery sub, CC number, CC expiration, CC CVV, and place it. Everything we saw in the SQL database, in our SQL database over there. Next, create a taco table. If it does not exist, add the following to the table. So here we have the ID, the bar chart, taco order key, and create it at so the timestamps. Next, create a table if it doesn't exist for ingredient. Same process, the ID, bar chart, the name, the type. Here we are going to create a table for the ingredient ref. Same thing, ingredient bar chart, which is also the foreign key. The foreign key to the taco, as well as the position index for the ingredient taco. Here we have the alter table taco. So this is just going to add a foreign constraint to link the taco order. And then we also have one for the ingredient ref to add a foreign key to the constraint to link the ingredient ref to the ingredient. So I hope everything makes sense because these are all the files for this chapter 3. Thank you for watching. I'm sure I do not have any questions. Let me try questions from your side. Okay, and that is it for the chapter. Thank you for watching.